to another episode of Cultureminds. Today, joining me, we have a special guest. This lady is a phenomenal DJ and very popular to One Extra listeners. Please welcome DJ Melody Kane.
Woo! I will give myself a round of applause.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. You are looking lovely.
Thank you.
Very
gorgeous.
trendy
So
and
you.
beautiful. Thank you though. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You've just got back from Antigua.
Antigua was so good. Yeah, I've just got back. I'm trying to adjust to London. Kind of the weather, the lack of smiles. In Antigua, everyone is just like
happy.
It's happy.
Sun.
And the weather was good, but it's actually rainy season, so it rained quite a lot when I was there. But I was there for carnival, and the vibe was just amazing. Like the men and the women are just beautiful. There's just a happy energy of. I'm the sort of person that just loves like speaking to everybody, saying hello, being really sad, and it's just that throughout Antigua. It's just like hi, everyone says hi, everyone looks out for each other. It was an amazing island. Like I had the best time.
How long was you in Antigua for?
I was literally there for 7 days, but it was like the most. So it was actually a press trip that I went over the Antiguan and Barbuda tourist board. Took about I think it was like six of us over there, and so it was to experience the carnival because actually it's not that well visited by people from the UK. The carnival. I actually only met 1-2 people from the UK that were there. There was quite a few people from America, but it was mainly other Caribbean islands. So we experienced the carnival, experienced like all different aspects of the island. We went swimming with stingrays, which was amazing. Went zip wiring, went on adventures. It was just, and literally, so for me, obviously being vegan and being quite conscious of my health, there's just mango trees and soursop trees at the side of the road. You're just walking along, you just pick a mango, eat it with the skin on, eat up the soursop. There's cashew nuts, you know, just growing off the tree. Just add the quality of life. The sea felt like silk on my skin. I'm just like, I'm still in like promoting mode for the tourists. Come to Antigua!
Come to Antigua!
Come to Antigua! It was just what cool looks like. That's the hashtag. It was amazing. It was a stunning experience and very spiritual. Even though obviously it was a carnival, it was just bare chuki and like breakfast fets and parties that start at 3 a.m. But it's a very spiritual energy to the island, and I felt that there was something that I needed to cleanse that was kind of inside me that had been polluting me a little bit of just energy that I'd been struggling to get out, and I just kind of gave myself a self-baptism in the sea, and I came back feeling amazing. So,
that's amazing. And the fact that you said you kind of felt like there was something inside you, talk a bit more about that. So what did you feel was kind of inside you that was not resonating with you well in this country?
Yeah, so it's been quite a challenging year. So my father passed away from cancer a couple of months ago, and around the same time as well, I'd just come to the end of like a really toxic relationship, and I hadn't actually realized how toxic the relationship was until it came to an end, if that makes sense. So I was actually in a relationship with a narcissist, and I didn't realize that until kind of the day that everything sort of became apparent to me. And the funny thing about being in a situation with a narcissist is they say it's a bit like a frog in slowly boiling water. You don't actually realize it's happening and the kind of mental abuse and the toxicity of it, and until you just have this incredible wake up. So there was a lot of energy that was left on me from that, trying to just almost process it. I think there's a thing where you're in a toxic situation where you can blame yourself quite a lot. There were definitely signs. There were massive red flags throughout it, but that I had kind of chosen to ignore. You know, we do that thing as women. We like want to see the best in people, and even when, you know, something is so obviously in our face that doesn't feel right spiritually, we have this kind of desire to not see it for what it is. So there was a lot of energy on me from that. I felt like I hadn't really cleansed from that. I'd really gone to God with it. I'd been really deep in prayer and in meditation, and God had cleansed me to a certain extent, but there was just still something inside. And I think because it had happened all at the same time that my dad passed away as well, I think there was like this ball of trauma, I guess, you know, that I was struggling to get rid of. And also I think struggling to be set free of the situation. So even though I was done with the situation and I knew I didn't want to go back there, there was still some sort of soul tie that I felt to it, which in itself was frustrating me because I knew that, okay, this was a bad situation. This was, you know, a person that was not in alignment with my spiritual being and my oneness. So to kind of still have some sort of longing for that felt confusing. So there was lots of things that felt frustrating that I wanted to be rid of that I couldn't seem to be. And for some reason Antigua just everything almost just left me in the most kind of beautiful, profound way. And yeah, it I can only just describe just going into the sea and just submerging myself and coming out, and quite a lot of things that I had been very conscious of almost left me in Antigua. So for instance, I've got tiny little eyelashes, tiny, and for the last 5 years I've always had worn the individual lashes.
Okay.
Just as I think a form of like I don't know if it's protection or I actually couldn't tell you what it is, you know, you sort of hide behind it. I just came back from Antigua and I just took them all out and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to embrace like how my face is and, you know, just embrace wearing makeup a lot less and trying to just love my natural self. So yeah, I like Antigua is this Caribbean island that just seemed to just
cleansed
me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear about your dad.
Oh, thank you.
That must have been very difficult for you to go through. But I'm happy that, you know, you actually went to Antigua, because listening to you and your story about when you went to Antigua and how you felt really cleansed, just feeling a different kind of vibe being in Antigua, and with that helping you overcome, like you said, your trauma and the struggles that you were going through.
There was a lot of grief associated with my dad passing because we weren't necessarily that close, and I think that was probably a decision on both our parts. You know, either one of us could have made more of an effort, and neither of us necessarily did. So it wasn't that he wasn't accessible to me if I had, you know, if I had really perhaps overcome my stubbornness regarding the situation. You know, I had this sort of stubbornness of, you know, he's the parent, he's meant to reach out, he's meant to do this and that. Whereas actually, when he passed, I realised that none of that mattered, and actually been more present in the moment with him. Now he's gone, I realised that actually none of that mattered, and what was important was just making the most of the time when he was here. And I didn't do that. I feel that I could have done things differently. And actually, you know, I've experienced people passing away, but never somebody as close as a parent. And I think that when he passed, it just instantly changed in really profound ways, like in a very beautiful way of just almost feeling free. I think when a parent passes or a sibling, you really question your own mortality. So there was a lot of grief with that, and then there was a lot of confusion and grief regarding the end of my relationship. I think because that was somebody that I had confided in about a lot of things and had been very vulnerable, which I hadn't necessarily been in other situations before. And I had done that because I thought I was in a safe space. And I think that as it became apparent that the space that I was in wasn't safe and that my vulnerabilities were actually being used as a weapon against me, that was something that I had to really make a conscious decision to not allow myself to become closed and bitter because of that. You know, I think our thing in life is very much when we have a certain situation, our reaction is like, you know, I'm never opening up again, you know, I'm never going to show that level of vulnerability again. But actually, when I felt that things were good and that I was safe in those moments, there was a lot of separate moments of grief and trauma, but that were actually all kind of wrapped up in the same thing, even though they were two completely different situations. And those two situations actually forced me into therapy, which is something that I knew I should have had a long time ago. and that's been amazing.
Oh wow. So I just want to say you are so strong.
Oh,
you are so strong. What you've gone through and how you're talking to me now and how you're able to understand the process. Like you said, it never made you bitter. You were able to understand the process and kind of become a better person, and that takes a lot of strength. To become a better person from a negative situation can take some people time. But for you, it may have taken time, but you've got to that place where you are much stronger within yourself.
A series of events that, you know, have been happening that are traumatic, but you don't process them, and it's just, you know, it's on to the next one, on to the next one. Because for me, that is just how life is. You know, madness happens, but I have no choice but just to get on with it. So none of those things were being unpacked, and none of those things were being dealt with. So I would just go on to the next one, to the next one. She's like, you know, I remember she said to me as I was describing my kind of my journey to her, she's like, whoa, like this is, you know, this is a lot. And I'm just saying it like as easy as like, yeah, I went to the shop and blah, 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 blah. And, but, you know, it's really severely traumatic things that have happened. And I'm just describing it in the most normalized way. And she's like, well, you know, you do realize that these things are incredibly traumatic. And I'm like, oh, this is, you know, this is just how it is. For me, it's just been incredible to be able to describe my journey and really understand what it is that I've gone through from the point of view of a black woman, because my mum's Jamaican, but my mum, my mum unfortunately has been and still is. Unfortunately, she's got dementia now, so she's, you know, past the point of recognition, and you know, she's completely incapacitated within her mind, etc. She's unfortunately in her home. So those answers that I was never able to get from her, I feel like I have this incredible woman that's just encouraging me to be kind to myself and mothering me in a therapeutic way.
And I can see the difference. In speaking to you, the way you articulate yourself about what you've processed is just amazing. And you know, you said it's only been a few weeks. You're doing great. So I would say definitely continue with doing that. And one thing that you mentioned about culture, because one of the reasons why I started this platform was because within the black culture, mental health is not often spoken about, and it needs to be spoken about a lot more. So for yourself and your experience growing up, did you feel comfortable talking about just mental health in general? Was it really spoken about within your culture? Or is it now that due to what you've gone through, you've been able to confidently speak more about mental health?
I think, you know, mental health wasn't something that was even on the radar when I was growing up. My mum's Jamaican, my dad was English. My mum came over from Jamaica with her family when they were 13, moved to Birmingham. So they met in Birmingham, my parents, and then they moved down to this little village in Sussex. So where I grew up, there was absolutely no black people. My mum received tremendous racist abuse. You know, my people would shout half caste and mongrel at me in the street and my brother. So it was, for me, I grew up seeing my mum put a skin lightening cream on her skin. I grew up just seeing a lot of self-hate associated with being this, you know, what I look back on and see as this, you know, beautiful black queen, you know, this Jamaican woman, this goddess who, you know, used to lighten her skin and perm her hair and used to like hot comb out my hair so it would be just long and straight, make my brother go to bed with a serviette on his head, you know, so he woke up with this straight. And obviously at the time when we're growing up, you don't realise. It's only as an adult I look back and just think, wow, you know, our mum was trying to whitewash us, you know, effectively to try and fit in this environment. So my mum suffered tremendous mental health issues, you know. I think she had a series of breakdowns. She struggled to cope, you know. The marriage between her and my dad was extremely toxic, extremely unhealthy, and you know, very volatile. So that's what I grew up with, seeing a very, you know, volatile relationship between the two of them. I didn't grow up seeing my dad beat my mum. I grew up watching them physically fight with each other. You know, it was an equal thing of just a lot of aggression in the household, a lot of violence, which then kind of filtered its way down to my brother and I. And I think this is the one thing that, you know, I've been unpacking in therapy, is that within the black community, there's things that we believe are discipline, or we're told generationally that it's discipline, where actually it's beating and it's abuse. And there was a lot of physical abuse that I struggled to understand, because I used to go to school with, you know, my white counterparts, and their parents didn't beat them. You know, their parents are high-fiving them and buying them a Game Boy for, you know, getting a C. And, you know, I'm coming home and getting a B in maths, and getting beaten with a belt because it's not an A. So it generationally, I grew up in a very confusing way. I didn't really understand my blackness until I was probably in my early 20s, when I actually, you know, met an incredible guy who's actually a white guy, but it was kind of him that sat me down and almost it was explaining my ethnicity to me, which is crazy, you know, now I look back on it. And obviously then just the journey of coming to London, where I was able to really feel comfortable with where I am a lot more. But it's been a strange journey for me, because I almost grew up feeling, not understanding my blackness, to becoming an adult. And actually, you know, when people ask me how I identify myself, I don't really identify myself as mixed race. I just see myself as a black woman. So the whole mental health side of things has been very confusing.
Yeah, definitely 100%. I think within the black culture, it's still confusing. Even for me, growing up, I never really spoke about mental health, and it's only because I've been working within that career that I've been able to understand about mental health, and so I understand what it looks like to be healthy and what it looks like to be unhealthy. So when I'm talking about it with my family, they feel comfortable talking to me because they know I have that understanding. But it's something that I feel needs to kind of grow within the black culture. I'm so happy that you've been here today to talk about your story and kind of normalise things. And so I hope that people watching it will resonate with them, and they will feel at peace. If they're going through anything similar to yourself, they will feel at peace with themselves and know that, okay, I'm not alone. You know, whether they're mixed or whether they're black, whatever colour they are, whatever heritage, whatever culture they're from, they will feel at peace knowing that we all have stories and we all come from different backgrounds, but we have a story to share to inspire the world. So how do you take care of your mental health now? I know you said you're going to therapy and you went to Antigua, which was very helpful.
What are the other things? Travel is my therapy.
What are the other, oh, amazing.
It's funny because I was speaking to my manager yesterday, and I was just talking about work and stuff. She's like, well, if you could just be in the country for longer than a few weeks at a time. Healthy eating really helps with my mental health. I'm vegan, so just really being mindful of what I consume, being very much plant-based. Exercise is incredible for me, for my mental health. And just being in nature is a big thing for me, which is why I love traveling so much, because it's obviously easier to achieve that level of melanin, top up in nature, in sunnier environments. But, London does have some amazing green spaces, and I live by a part of Epping Forest, which is Hollow Pond, so it's I love being in nature. And you know what, prayer and God, just worship for me, just going to church on a Sunday, being really immersed in worship, being really connected in prayer. I don't think of myself as religious because I'm incredibly spiritual, but I also have an amazing relationship with God. And I know there's people out there that think that you can't be both. You can't be spiritual and you can't be Christian. I don't really identify myself with any name when it comes to religion, but I just know that I have a relationship with my God, and it's incredible. And He's saved me. He's the one that drew me out of the toxic situation that I was in by revealing to me what that person was. He's the one that's continued to just be there for me in scenarios that have literally been life or death. The only way that I could have got out of those situations was by the grace of God. And I just know that whenever I'm coming to a place where I'm in despair, I do just put it all in His hands, and he never fails me. So I would definitely say, I think God, health and fitness, being mindful of what I consume. Also in terms of what I consume around me. I don't have a television, I don't watch TV. I'm very mindful of what I read, what I have limited time on social media because it can be, a negative place. So I'm just mindful of what I ingest internally, spiritually, mentally. So
That's amazing. Truly, that's amazing. Listening to you is like, wow, like you've got it all together. Literally.
No, let's stop there.
I know you've been
Because
going
that's
through your
not true.
difficulties. I know you've been going through your difficulties, but in life we all have difficulties. No one's gonna be perfect. We're gonna have our struggles. I have my struggles. I still have struggles. I've had struggles, but the place where you're at now is so inspiring to me. And just listening to you, listening to you traveling, listening to you just explore the world and be in nature and take care of what you eat and your fitness. It's just amazing, and your energy is just infectious, and it's just so nice to kind of have you here and just listen to your story. I can talk to you forever because I just feel like I want to learn so much from you. And it's okay to have struggles, you know, it's okay to come from a toxic place. No one's life is perfect. And just, you know, take each step as it comes, and you will be inspiring. Trust me, when this interview comes out, you will be inspiring millions, because it's been amazing speaking with you. I feel so inspired, and we are going to talk more off camera. So thank you so much for sharing your story. You are an inspiration, and
I went so quick.
It's just literally amazing. It's amazing. So before we go, where can we find you on your social media platforms?
Yes, everything is at DJ Melody Kane, Melody with a Y, Kane with a K. Like, interact with me. I love it. I love it when people just come and kind of chat. And yeah, I sometimes have little social media breaks because I need a little, but mostly I'm quite active on there. So yeah.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah.